April 29th, 2 Kings 23, 24, and 25. And the sovereign sent, and they gathered all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem to him. And the sovereign went up to the house of Yah with all the men of Judah, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem with him, and the priests, and the prophets, and all the people, both small and great. And he read in their hearing all the words of the book of the covenant which had been found in the house of Yah. And the sovereign stood by the column, and made a covenant before Yah, to follow Yah, and to guard his commands, and his witness, and his laws, with all his heart and all his being, to establish the words of this covenant that were written in this book. And all the people stood to the covenant. Then the sovereign commanded, Hezekiah, the high priest. Disregard. Hilkiah, not Hezekiah, nosy there. Hilkiah, the high priest, and the priests of the second order, and the doorkeepers, to bring out the hekal of Yah, all the out of the hekal, temple, house, tent of Yah, all the objects that were made for Baal, and for Asherah, and for all the hosts of the heavens. And he burned them outside Jerusalem, in the fields of Kidron, and took their ashes to Bethel. And he put down the black-robed priests, whom the sovereigns of Judah had appointed to burn incense on the high places, in the cities of Judah, and in the places all around Jerusalem, and those who burned incense to Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the constellations, and to all the host of the heavens. And he brought out the Asherah from the house of Yah to the Wadi Kidron outside Jerusalem, and burned it at the Wadi Kidron, and ground it to ashes, and threw its ashes on the burial sites of the sons of his people. And he broke down the houses of the male cult prostitutes that were in the house of Yah, where the women wove tapestries for the Asherah. And he brought all the priests from the cities of Judah, and defiled the high places where the priests had burned incense, from Geba to Beersheba, and broke down the high places at the gates, which were at the entrance of the gate of Yehoshua, the governor of the city, which were to the left of the city gate. However, the priests of the high places did not come up to the slaughter place of Yah in Jerusalem, but they ate unleavened bread among their brothers. And he defiled Topheleth, which is in the valley of the son of Hinnom, so that no man could make his son or his daughter pass through the fire to Molech. And he did away with the horses that the sovereigns of Judah had given to the sun, at the entrance of the house of Yah, by the room of Nathan-Melech, the eunuch, that were in the court. And he burned the chariots of the sun with fire, and the slaughter places that were on the roof of the upper room of Ahaz, which the sovereigns of Judah had made, and the slaughter places which Manasseh had made in the two courtyards of the house of Yah. The sovereign broke down, and rushed down from there, and threw their dust into the Wadi Kidron. And the sovereign defiled the high places that were before Jerusalem, which were on the right hand of the mountain of destruction, which Solomon, sovereign of Israel, built for Ashereth, the abomination of the Sidonians, and for Chemosh, the abomination of the Moabites, and for Milcom, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And he broke in pieces the pillars, and cut down the Asherim, and filled their places with the bones of men. And also the slaughter place that was at Bethel, and the high place which Jeroboam son of Nebat made, by which he made Israel sin, Both that slaughtered place and the high place he broke down. And he burned the high place and the ground, and ground it to dust, and burned the Asherah. Then Yoshiyahu turned and saw the burial sites that were there on the mountain. And he sent and took the bones out of the burial sites, and burned them on the slaughter place, and defiled it according to the word of Yah, which the man of Elohim proclaimed, who proclaimed these words. And he said, What tombstone is this that I see? And the men in the city said to him, It is the burial site of the man of Elohim, who came from Judah, and proclaimed these matters, which you have done against the slaughter place of Bethel. And he said, Let him alone. Let no one move his bones. So they left his bones alone, with the bones of the prophet who came from Shomron. And Yoshiyahu also took away all the houses of the high places that were in the cities of Shomron, which the sovereigns of Israel had made to provoke. And he did to them according to all the deeds he did in Bethel. And he slaughtered all the priests of the high places who were there on the slaughter places, and burned men's bones on them, and went back to Jerusalem. And the sovereign commanded all the people, saying, Prepare the Pesach to Yah your Elohim, as it is written in this book of the covenant. For such a Pesach had not been prepared since the days of the rulers who ruled Israel, nor in all the days of the sovereigns of Israel and the sovereigns of Judah. But in the 18th year of sovereign Yoshiyahu, this Pesach was prepared before Yah in Jerusalem. And also Yoshiyahu put away those who consulted mediums and spiritists, and the household mighty ones, and idols, and all the abominations that were seen in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem, in order to establish the words of the Torah which were written in the book that Hilkiyahu the priest had found in the house of Yah. And before him there was no sovereign like him, who turned back to Yah with all his heart, and with all his being, and with all his might, according to all the Torah of Moses, and after him none rose up like him. However, Yah did not turn from the fierceness of his great wrath, with which his wrath burned against Judah, because of all the provocations which Manasseh had provoked him. And Yah said, Even Judah I shall remove from my presence, as I have removed Israel, and I shall reject this city Jerusalem which I have chosen, and the house of which I said, My name is there. And the rest of the acts of Yoshiyahu, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns of Judah? In his days, Pharaoh Necho, sovereign of Egypt, went up against the sovereign of Ashur to the river Euphrates. And sovereign Yoshiyahu went out to him, and he killed him at Migdo when he saw him. And his servants conveyed his body in a chariot from Migdo, and brought him to Jerusalem, and buried him in his own burial place. And the people of the land took Ahaz, son of Yoshiyahu, and anointed him, and set him up to reign in his father's place. Ahaz was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 new moons in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Yirmiyahu of Libnah. And he did evil in the eyes of Yah, according to all that his fathers did. And Pharaoh Necho imprisoned him at Riblah in the land of Hamath, to keep him from reigning in Jerusalem. And he imposed on the land a fine of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold. Pharaoh Necho set up Eliakim, son of Yoshiyahu, to reign in place of his father Yoshiyahu, and changed him to Jehoiakim. Jehoiakim. And Pharaoh took Jehoahaz and went to Egypt, and he died there. And Jehoiakim gave the silver and gold to Pharaoh. Only he taxed the land to give silver according to the mouth of Pharaoh. He exacted the silver and gold from the people of the land, from everyone according to his assessment, to give it to Pharaoh Necho. And Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Zebidah, the daughter of Pedaiah of Rumah. And he did evil in the eyes of Yah, according to all that his fathers did. 2 Kings 24. In his days, Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, came up, and Jehoiakim became his servant for 3 years, and he turned and rebelled against him. And Yah sent against him raiding bands of Kasdim, and raiding bands of Aram, and raiding bands of Moab, and raiding bands of the children of Ammon. And he sent them against Judah to destroy it, according to the word of Yah, which he had spoken by his servants the prophets. Only at the mouth of Yah this came upon Judah. Pardon again. To remove them from his presence, because of the sins of Manasseh, according to all that he did, and also because of the innocent blood that he shed, for he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, which Yah would not forgive. And the rest of the acts of Jehoiakim and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the sovereigns of Judah? So Jehoiakim slept with his fathers, and Jehoiakim, his son, reigned in his place. And the sovereign of Egypt did not come out of his land again, for the sovereign of Babel had taken all that belonged to the sovereign of Egypt, from the Wadi of Egypt to the river Euphrates. And Jehoiakim was 18 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 new moons. And his mother's name was Nehushta, daughter of Elnathan of Jerusalem. And he did evil in the eyes of Yah, according to all that his father did. At that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, came up against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, came against the city, as his servants were besieging it. And Jehoiakim, sovereign of Judah, and his mother, and his servants, and his heads, and his eunuchs, went out to the sovereign of Babel. And the sovereign of Babel, in the 8th year of his reign, took him prisoner. And he took from there all the treasures of the house of Yah, and the treasures of the sovereign's house. And he cut in pieces all the gold objects which Solomon, sovereign of Israel, had made in the hekel of Yah, as Yah had said. And he exiled all Jerusalem, and all the officers, and all the mighty brave men, 10,000 exiles, and all the craftsmen and smiths. None remained except the poorest people of the land. And he exiled Jehoiakim to Babel, and the sovereign's mother, and the sovereign's wives, and his eunuchs, and the leading men of the land he exiled from Jerusalem to Babel. And all the mighty brave men, 7,000, and craftsmen and smiths, 1,000, all who were strong and fit for battle. These the sovereign of Babel brought into Babel into exile. And the sovereign of Babel set up Mattaniah, Jehoiakim's uncle, to reign in his place, and changed his name to Zedekiah. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, daughter of Yirmiyahu of Libnah. And he did evil in the eyes of Yah, according to all that Jehoiakim did. For this took place in Jerusalem and Judea, because of the displeasure of Yah, until he had cast them out from his presence. And Zedekiah rebelled against the sovereign of Babel. 2 Kings 25. And it came to be, in the 9th year of his reign, on the 10th new moon, on the 10th of the new moon, that Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, and all his army came against Jerusalem and encamped against it. And they built a siege wall against it all around. And the city was besieged until the 11th year of sovereign Zedekiah. By the 9th of the new moon, the scarcity of food had become so severe in the city that there was no food for the people of the land. Then the city wall was breached, and all the men of battle fled at night by the way of the gate between two walls, which was by the sovereign's garden, even though the Kasdim were still encamped all around against the city. And the sovereign went by way of the desert plain. And the army of the Kasdim pursued the sovereign, and overtook him in the desert plains of Jericho. And all his army was scattered from him. And they seized the sovereign, and brought him up to the sovereign of Babel at Riblah, and they pronounced sentence on him. And they slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and put out the eyes of Zedekiah, and bound him with bronze shackles, and took him to Babel. In the 5th new moon, on the 7th of the new moon, which was the 19th year of sovereign Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, Nebuzaradan, the priest of the chief of the guard, a servant of the sovereign of Babel, came to Jerusalem. And he burned the house of Yah, and the house of the sovereign, and all the houses of Jerusalem. Even every great house he burned with fire. And all the army of the Kasdim, who were with the chief of the guard, broke down the walls of Jerusalem all around. And Nebuzaradan, the chief of the guard, took into exile the rest of the people who were left in the city, and the deserters who deserted to the sovereign of Babel, with the rest of the multitude. But the chief of the guard left some of the poor of the land as vine dressers and farmers. And the bronze columns that were in the house of Yah, and the stands, and the bronze sea that were in the house of Yah, the Kasdim broke into pieces, and took their bronze away to Babel. And they took the pots, and the shovels, and the snuffers, and the ladles, and all the bronze utensils the priests used in the service. And the chief of the guard took the fire holders and the basins, which were of solid gold and solid silver. The bronze of all these utensils was beyond measure. The 2 columns, the one sea, and the stands, which Solomon had made for the house of Yah. The height of one column was 18 cubits, and the capital on it was of bronze, and the height of the capital was 3 cubits. And the network and pomegranates all around the capital were all of bronze. And the second column was the same, with a network. And the chief of the guard took Sariah, the chief priest, and Zephaniah, the second priest, and the 3 doorkeepers. And out of the city he took a certain eunuch, who was appointed over the men of battle, and 5 men who saw the sovereign's face, who were found in the city, and the chief scribe of the army, who mustered the people of the land, and 60 men of the people of the land, who were found in the city. And Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, took them, and made them go to the sovereign of Babel at Riblah. And the sovereign of Babel struck them, and put them to death at Riblah, in the land of Hamath. So he exiled Judah from its own land. And he appointed Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, over the people who were left in the land of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, had left. And all the commanders of the armies and their men heard that the sovereign of Babel had appointed Gedaliah, and they came to Gedaliah at Mitzvah, Even Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, and Johanan, son of Kariah, and Sariah, son of Tanhumath, the Netophathite, and Ahaz and Yahu, son of Maacathanite. They and their men. And Hideyahu swore to them and their men, and said to them, Do not be afraid of the servants of the Kasdim. Dwell in the land, and serve the sovereign of Babel, and let it be well with you. And in the 7th new moon it came to be, that Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, son of Elishama, of the seed of the sovereign, came with 10 men, and struck Gedaliah, that he died, and the Yehudim and the Kasdim who were with him at Mitzvah. And all the people rose up, small and great, and the commanders of the armies, and went to Egypt, for they were afraid of the Kasdim. And it came to be, in the 37th year of the exile of Jehoiakim, sovereign of Judah, in the 12th new moon, on the 27th of the new moon, that Merodach, sovereign of Babel, in the year he began to reign, released Jehoiakim, the sovereign of Judah, from prison, and spoke kindly to him, and set his throne above the throne of the sovereigns who were with him in Babel, and changed his prison garments, and he ate bread continually before the sovereign all the days of his life. And as his allowance, a continual allowance was given to him from the sovereign, a quota for each day, all the days of his life.